Alright guys, Tactical Rab here, breaking down day 5 of the Pro League qualifier. It is officially in the books, another crazy day of action. Teams that you wouldn't expect to be out of the league are officially out of the league. Massive names in terms of huge organisations and huge players as well, including FaZe Clan, G2 especially, failed to make the league, in addition to other players that had such a good chance but, couldn't clutch up when it really mattered. So we're going to be going through all of it today. Like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. Hope you enjoyed the weekend of Call of Duty because the Pro League starts February the 4th, so a couple weeks away from now, and yeah, there's so much content that can potentially be made on the things that happen this weekend. If you have any suggestions on video ideas and stuff that you'd like me to do, of course leave them down in the comments as always, and I will take it into consideration. So just before we start, I want to say that a few hours from when this is being uploaded, I'll be on the 1v1 show tonight, having a chat with Infinity at 7 PM GMT, so 2 PM Eastern time, like 11 AM Pacific time, whatever. So I'll leave it down in the description box below. If you want to tune in, have a chat or whatever, just watch, then feel free to do that. So before we hop in, I want to just emphasize this point again about the roster changes. The teams that qualify are locked. So all the 16 teams that are qualified are locked. They'll be used for the first block of regular season matches, which ends on February 28th. After February 28th, on March the 1st, organizations are free to make unlimited roster changes during designated movement periods. So, Parasite makes a tweet on it here. I could be wrong, but let's say Midnight, for example, decide to sell their team for FaZe. During the roster change period in March, they could literally replace their entire roster. Not like that's necessarily going to happen, but it's definitely a possibility, it seems, right now, unless contracts could potentially get in the way. And I'm probably going to make a video more in depth about this, but I thought I'd just bring it to your guys' attention because it's definitely an interesting scenario. And also, I'm pretty sure that organizations are locked in a week from now. So either a week from today or a week from yesterday, if a big organization like, I don't know, any team like say a Cloud9 wanted to come into Call of Duty or Fnatic wanted to come back in, they have to pick up a team within a week. And FaZe Clan, who failed to make Pro League, which will go on to how that exactly happened in a second, if they fail to make Pro League, then if they want to pick up a team that's actually in the Pro League, then they have a week to do that. Otherwise, the organizations are locked for the league for, I'm pretty sure, the entire season. So it's an interesting scenario, but we'll see how that works down the line. Let's get into the final day of action. So as we saw, E6 Reciprocity, Envy Heretics, Midnight 100 Thieves, and Evil Geniuses and UU qualified straight through the pool play, which left 4 spots remaining in a 12-team gauntlet of a bracket. So the team that placed third went into round 2 straight away. So let's go through this. Fact Revolution versus XLG. This is Sunny B's team. They actually had a very decent chance of making the league. This was a very close matchup, but they just fell short at the end. I think they almost managed to pull off a reverse sweep, but XLG closed it out. And XLG runs straight through the winners bracket all the way to the league. Super impressive. That's like Fastballer, Profizi, BZ's team, of course. And Fastballer has been around for years. And finally, he's been the laughing stock of the community at times. And finally, he's got his chance to actually get in the league. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for BZ as well, especially. Seems like a very nice guy, very active on like the Reddit and things like that. So yeah, I'm happy for those guys. It's a shame they had to beat Sween to make it, who of course didn't make it in the end in pretty heartbreaking circumstances for European fans, I would say. XLG next, though, have to take down FaZe. Now, I didn't really get much of a chance to see this matchup, but FaZe on the Saturday were winning all their Game 5s. They won that Game 5 against Sween, where Celian popped that 4-piece to get them into the position to, make a potential run on this Sunday. But they end up losing Game 5s here, and it just crumbles for FaZe. Even though they've made that role change, Priester for some reason was using the ICR, even though I would argue he's the best player on the team. He's now got a Sorg in his hands. Crowder's using more of an assault rifle role. And of course that was going to improve their play slightly, I think I would say. But it's not going to fix the fundamental problems with the team. And what we're going to see with FaZe Clan now is super interesting. And I'll probably make a video on entirely FaZe Clan as a team and what changes they need to make and what they're going to do going forwards, because this core needs to split guaranteed. No questions asked if XLG are taking them down here. And so, Sween take down Mother Star Riders 3-0, then they beat overtime. So what's quite incredible about all these matches is the team that was in winners round 1, they also won their winners round 2 matchups. That's maybe even a disadvantage of coming third in the pool, is that yes, you have to win one less match to qualify, but at the same time, you're up against a really hot team from winners round 1 that's just won a match. It's something at open events you'll see traditionally, where if you place 3rd in the pool, you drop like quite a way into losers, like losers round 3, but actually it might be better to drop into like losers round 2, have an easier warm-up match. So anyway, it's interesting. Swee managed to take down overtime and eventually lose to XLG in his first bracket, get pretty convincingly beaten by XLG, and this was a qualification series for Sween. They had 2 qualification series at Vegas, which they failed to win. This was their second qualification series, or their third qualification series, and then they had another one later on, which they lost to Red Reserve, which was very tough indeed for them. Mindfreak took down FaZe Black, pretty solid stuff from Mindfreak, and then they take down G2. This is where you're thinking, wow, Mindfreak, as easy as you like, looking super confident, because G2 is a very solid squad. I honestly think this team is probably better still than their team they had at Vegas. Like, I think this team's really good with Lacefield and co. Definitely, I think, Pro League caliber, but they just lost to some good teams this weekend, and they had a tough run of things. G2 end up falling out down to the losers bracket, and Myfreak just took their heads off, you know, like Shocks was going off. Beaston had a bit of a worse Sunday than before, but Shocks really turned it around today, and Fighter had a good day as well. So it was really looking solid for an Australian team to make the league. In the lower bracket here, we have Space beat Tater Mines. They beat Red 3-1 as well. This was just tragic for Red, really. Like, their S&D is just looking woeful, and Spacey's team just looked really confident on this Sunday. I think, you know, they knew we looked really good online at the start of the game. It's time to get our heads on straight. And yeah, they take down Red, and then they 3-0 Mindfreak. I'm pretty sure I think they went on a 5-series victory streak, or maybe a 6 streak, because they won these 3, and then I think they won their final 2 matches in the group to get through, maybe even their final 3 matches. Some people were saying they were 0-3 at the start, but I think there may have been 1-2, or 1-3, and then won their last 2. But regardless, I'm pretty sure they won at least 5 series in a row to qualify. JP said their map count was something like 15-2. So these guys super turned it around. Definitely deserved to make the league. Havoc was playing super well. Maniac, of course, definitely Pro League caliber player. So I'm happy they made it. But of course, it had to be at the expense of a team that I would also like to make it. So XLG and Space League qualifies straight out the upper bracket. The lower bracket, what a gauntlet this was. Red take down Fact Revolution 3-0. You know, Red are always going to beat the lower tier European teams. I feel like they don't tend to lose to European teams just because they know them super well. And there's also a fear factor when you're a lower tier European team playing against people like Red Reserve. G2 take down Movistar in a game 5 to keep their dreams alive. Overtime beat FaZe Black. FaZe beat Tater Mines in the first round of losers. Like, kind of the results you'd expect. Overtime is definitely a team I didn't give enough love to. They managed to qualify all the way for the league. Whalers has been in the league before. They've got Risk, they've got Breezy, they've got Natche, they've got Zeeked. Super talented players, and I played with Breezy in World War II ranked one time. He carried the hell out of me, so pretty happy he did well here. Natche was going off in the final series as well, but super impressive from overtime. And yeah, 4 European teams in the league, as you can see right here, with Red and overtime qualifying. And okay, it's only 4, it's not great. We don't even have an Australian team this season, but 2 of them are from mainland Europe, which really does make for a change, considering usually, you know, maybe we have a team from France or a Vitality squad that we had last season. But apart from that, it's basically just all UK representation. So, got a team from France, a team from Spain in the Pro League. That's really cool things. But it had to come at the cost of other teams, as we would see in just a second. Red versus G2. I would say this was the match of the day. It goes all the way down to a game 5. Red, I think they won the first hardpoint pretty comfortably. Then they lost the searches. They have a very bad habit of doing it. Reminds me a lot of World War II, like Stage 2, and they're really struggling in search. They couldn't win any close matches to save their life. And they finally turned that around against Sween in the very final map that they won in the tournament. But against G2, they lose the search, I think. Then they win the control. Really impressed with Red's control, I'm not going to lie. Basically just because Scrap CG is just slaying it immensely. Like, this guy, if this guy wasn't in the Pro League this weekend, he would have got snapped up by an instant by some North American team, because he's a proven talent, and he was mind-blowingly good this weekend. I really want to see the stats when they come out, even though I think JP said that only 70% of them are available. G2 take map number 4 to force a map 5, and Red finally win a map 5. It goes to a round 11. Rated has 0 kills on the scoreboard. Now that's 0 actual kills, but he probably would have had 1 or 2 EKIA. And this is what Methods tweeted about, because he got an annihilator. He got an annihilator while 0-7, man. How is that a thing? And that is tough, because Rated gets 1 kill at the start of round 11. He takes down Chino with the Tempest, so a massive kill in its own right, like, pretty clutch kill, even if you're 0-7, to take a gunfight like that and win it. Then he pulls out the Annihilator, gets another kill, and they end up closing out the round on Methods, playing it really well. So it's 6-5, game 5 to knock G2 out the tournament and keep Red Reserve's hope alive. That was such an intense one for European fans, because if G2 had won this and then they'd gone on to knock out Sweden, I would have, like, something would have been up with me. So anyway, G2 out the tournament, out the Pro League contention entirely, and overtime versus FaZe was also an incredible matchup. Went down all the way to a game 5 again in FaZe tradition, and they lose another game 5. Overtime is just such a clutch team right now. They seem to win all the clutch rounds they have. It's the passion, man. This is the passion. I think the passion pit was what people were calling the groups. This was the gladiator, something like that. I don't know. But anyway, these guys have the passion. FaZe just weren't there, man. Celium just couldn't deliver the goods like he did quite yesterday. And unbelievable that FaZe don't make Pro League, I'm not going to lie. When I said in my predictions video that whenever I don't have faith in FaZe, they always prove me wrong and manage to do very well. Well, finally maybe I was proven right this time, but when I was proven right, I actually predicted for them, so I don't even know what's going on anymore. But super happy for overtime. They end up playing Mind Freak, so it was super tragic for me as a fan, I guess, because Sweden Red, Mind Freak, overtime, both teams that I would like to have done well and made the league, they failed to make the league because they had to play each other. So Red versus Sweden, this was pretty close series, to be honest. Red won all the 3 respawns. Dylan CoD was absolutely dominating along with Scraps. There was a couple good maps out of Rated and Co as well. But yeah, Dylan CoD is something else. He challenges gunfights you would not believe and still managed to win them. Ripped some people off that jet head glitch on Arsenal with a Sorg like there's no tomorrow. Won some crazy 1v2s. North American teams have got to be keeping an eye on this guy right now. And he's definitely could be a target for Red Reserve down the line if they keep struggling. Alex as well from Lightning Pandas is something that may come into consideration for a lot of these top teams. Mind Freak overtime. This was the last series of the tournament. Mind Freak go up 1-0. They win a pretty comfortable map number 1 before in S&D. It just really fell apart for them. And I don't really know exactly why this is, because usually Mind Freak's S&D is something that you can bank on them for. But without Buzzo, they had no direction. Like, their offenses were so weak, so staggered. Like, there was many times on Gridlock where they would go to B, and then they would just, like, go for the plant and just hope that the guy Little Room didn't kill the guy planting. But there really isn't much that can be done about that if you don't push for Little Room control, if you don't try and get into Broken and play for some gunfights to get some map control. They were so timid on their offenses, not playing together particularly at all. And usually that's the staple for Mind Freak, is their solid search and destroy, but losing one to overtime here spelled disaster for them. The control as well, I think they went up 2-0 in control. They had a very comfortable game, and then they managed to throw it away against overtime. And I think in the Red versus Spacely series, the Red threw away their control maybe as well. So a couple of those happened today, and it happened to Mind Freak. Couldn't have happened at a worse time. Great couple of plays coming out of Natche, and then map 4, Mind Freak just lost composure. They had so many series to potentially win to close out the tournament. Mind Freak started 4-0 on the weekend. They won their first 4 matches. They lost their final 2 against Red Reserve, and then they also lost against UU, both of which were qualification matches. Then they come down here, they lose to Spacely's team, and then they lose to overtime. It's a really tough run for them, considering the only teams they lost to were Pro League qualifying teams. They lost to Red, they lost to UU in the end, who both qualified. Then they lost here to overtime, who of course qualified. And they lost to Spacely in qualification matches. That's tough. You can say a similar thing for Sweden, because if you look at Sweden's pool, they lost to Rec, they lost to Enigma 6. The only match they lost that wasn't to a Pro League team was against FaZe. Yes, because when we come down here to the bracket, then Sweden, they end up losing to XLG, and then they lose to Red Reserve. So a very tough run for a lot of the European teams here, but that concludes the tournament. Your Pro League teams will be Enigma 6. Well, actually, let's deal with the first ones we had. Optic Gaming, E United, Splice, Luminosity, joined by Enigma 6, Team Envious, Midnight Esports, Evil Geniuses, Team Reciprocity, Heretics, 100 Thieves, UU, Accelerate, Space, Red Reserve, and Overtime. How many people were predicting that? That is an interesting one, because, okay, some of these teams you'd expect to qualify, but going in, Midnight Esports, Accelerate, and Overtime, I wouldn't say were on my radar, really. Maybe Accelerate was up there, but Overtime and Midnight for sure were. The rest of the teams I could definitely see qualifying on their day, but there are some big names missing out right here. FaZe and G2, the most obvious ones. Pittsburgh Knights as well. Mindfreak, you have to give an honourable mention to as well, because this has been like a staple squad in the league for a long time, and now Australia isn't even going to get a team in the league. It was looking so good for them, but it fell apart when it mattered, and it's quite intriguing really here how all these teams, 13th through 16th at Vegas, well, UU made a change as well, actually bringing in Knight, but these three teams, they all made changes, they all switched things up, and it didn't work out for any of them. So that's tragic, but these players, I'm sure they'll find their way into the league, but they won't be in the league for at least another month until March the 1st, when things can actually start kicking off in terms of roster changes. And of course, I'll cover all of that in the due course. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys enjoyed the Call of Duty on the weekend. What a crazy event it was indeed. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. Tune into the 1v1 show tonight, 7 PM GMT. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.